And then what were you like at school?
School, do you know what? I started off really popular, had loads of friends. I was very, very clever, very good at maths, actually. And if I'd have carried on with that, I probably would have been a world class mathematician in something or other, probably finance and economics with the brain I've got. But actually, really quite quickly into school, I got really badly bullied, which really affected the whole of my school career.
Wow.
Was There was no point me showing up. When I did show up, I was chased out of class. It was a case of be bullied or get bullied, and it was really quite a lonely time. I didn't really have anywhere to turn. Teachers would very much, the teachers were getting bullied. It was that bad.
Right.
Some teachers were resigning. It was really, really bad energy in the school I was in. However, on a positive note, when I got to GCSEs, I mean, at that point, I didn't know what the word revision meant, and that's not even a joke.
No, you know,
I,
it's
I,
the true story is, so I was the same, and we'll talk about bullying in a second, but it wasn't until I actually went to uni did I know what revision actually was or meant. And it was almost where, so what I'd gone through my life where I'd kind of just go through the year and then try and learn it for the exam. This sounds really stupid. I didn't figure out to learn it through the year, then learn it again for the exam. And I don't know about you, but it's almost where for me, it's one of the chips on my shoulder where the school I went to wasn't bad, but it wasn't great anyway. But I think if you go to a posher school, and I have relatives that went to like private school, you're taught how to learn how to pass exams in a way that I never was. And what was really interesting was when I went to uni, so I went to do mechanical engineering. In the same class as me, there was a girl called Gwyn, and she went to Cheltenham Ladies College, which is like the female version of Eton. And it
right,
was just
wow.
funny that the kind of, like she was lovely. And ironically, I think the people that go to posh schools rebel more when they have freedom than people with working
Yeah.
class backgrounds. Anyway, but it was just that one part of the big disadvantage I felt when I had to go to uni was, one, I had less money than everyone else, but actually it took me a long time to just figure out how to play the game that other people have been taught before they even arrived. Does that make sense? So trust me, I kind
Completely
of get it.
agree. I feel like I'm just getting there now. Like, oh, hang on, this is what you're supposed to do. And I'm kind of doing it already. You don't
Yeah.
really appreciate if you're not really shown, how are you supposed to suss it out? But you do suss it out. That's
Mhm.
the important bit. However, you get there.
No, that's cool. And just on the bullying front, it was really funny actually that with just like a personal story for me is that with basically I was bullied at school because I didn't have cool trainers or school shoes. So back in the day, there were kickers. I don't have kids, so I don't know.
I do.
Yeah, but anyway, but we couldn't afford them. So basically, the in our local like shoe shop, they had like the fake version.
Yeah.
And kids were fucking horrible, and they'd take the piss just because you don't have the brand name that are 4 times the price. And the truth is, my mum just couldn't afford them. And
Yeah.
then even when, because we had to wear a uniform in school. So in theory, I think uniform is good because it actually means that it puts everyone on the same level. But the shoes, you could
Yeah.
either rough kids or the rich kids had Rockport. A lot of everyone else had kickers because they didn't want to fit in, and I couldn't afford them. But I experienced bullying from that just because, it
Yeah.
is what it is. And it was a horrible experience. But it is true that when you kind of, if you can like fight through it and get through it and just kind of, one of the ways that I almost tried to do it was when I got good at sport, and people tend not to bully people on the sports teams, but almost it was like the social side to like the banter and almost it's like a survival thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And it can be a horrible experience to go to, but I don't know if you want to share anything about how you found school or.
Do you know what? I think for me, it was a case of when we left school, I just got enough to get to college. I got told I was probably going to be, on benefits and have kids and amount to nothing. And even if that did happen, it would not mean I'd amount to nothing.
Yeah.
But I really started thriving at college and found my feet, my independence, and actually a whole new brand, culture of people. And it just kind of let me reinvent myself as a young teenager at that time. I was very bright. I could apply myself. I was getting 100% in my classes. I was doing extremely well. So for the teachers who, didn't recognise that, actually you're forced into this little culture of learning that is not right for you, and you have to excel just to get to that little next step in your life. Had I known back then that I could achieve what I've achieved now without all of that, 7 years of education that means relatively nothing, I probably wouldn't have worried or bothered with it all. You'd just go straight to, but actually you kind of need to go through those lessons and those hardships to go, okay, I'm going to suss it out, and you figure it out. But yeah, what you know now to what you'd be a totally different person, but you wouldn't know it if you didn't go through it. So
I know it like with my my cousin's son, I don't know if it's nephew, I don't know, regardless, but he goes to uni next year, and it's all of there's so much stuff that I didn't learn, but it's, you know, that's kind of life, isn't it? It's kind of what you learn over time. And ironically, and you know, I was saying this to someone, like, I've been to uni a few times, and you know, I'm got the qualifications, but almost when you get to a certain point, I know it doesn't mean anything. And it's that balance. You're sold the dream that it's absolutely everything. The most important thing is to get A's and do. And you kind of, so I'm 38 now, but it's almost where I judge people on how good they are at doing something, how passionate they are.
How can they apply themselves?
I couldn't really give a shit about what the certificate is for certain jobs. So like I help run an engineering company. If we're recruiting engineers, you kind of need a degree for that. So but generally it's more about just, you know, find something you're passionate about and do it. And,
I mean, when was the last time you asked what your GCSEs were?
Yeah, true.
And if they do ask, I go, crikey, I wouldn't even know how to get the certificates. I can't really remember.
Yeah,
it's crazy.